Hello, bonjour, huedat, dumela, legai, linjani, salibonani, magadi, mulishani, mulibwanji, and habari. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you're tuned in from, wherever you're joining me from, thank you very much for making this time to be with me. Imagine this is episode 10. What an incredible journey it's been so far. This is Get to Know Them. These are Ego Wings facilitators, women and men that have given of themselves to make us a better type of people. These are women and men that just give of themselves every day. They want to impact. They want to make sure that we are moving with the times, that we are doing better, that we don't drown. So these are men and women that just are there for us. But this series, this particular episode, is us getting to know this person on her day-to-day life, outside her being a speaker and outside her being the profession that you know her to be. So apart from that, we are going to dive right into it. But before we do that, my name is Candy and I'm your host. So like I said, episode 10. We've had 9 other phenomenal facilitators, but today is going to be an interesting one. I am joined by a phenomenal, incredible woman. She is a guru. I call her a guru. She's very well known in the industry. Drop this woman in any 4 corners of Africa, and she's right at home because of the impact that she's made in her professional standing. And because of that, she decided, let me take a little bit of a step outside of that, but let me also impact. So she is phenomenal, dynamic, anything to do with travel. This is a woman that you need to talk to. I also call her a moving library. If you want to know anything about how to just think outside the box when it comes to travel, this is that person. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Robyn Christie. So all of you joining in, thank you so much for making the time. Allow me to introduce this phenomenal, incredible woman. You will love her. I've loved her for years. And she's just dynamic. She's energetic. She's full of fun. She's full of life. So today is going to be absolutely brilliant. So Robyn, thank you so much for making the time. How are you, Robyn?
I'm going to record what you've just said because it's the best entrance I've ever had. I wish I could actually package it, and I think I will. Candy, I'm very, very well. Thank you. And lovely to be here. And I should also say, Dumelang, Morema, Jambo Jambo, Goeiedag, Bonjour, and Salam Alaikum.
And this is how we do it on the African continent. I mean, that's the beauty about Africa. Believe me, everything that Robyn and I are saying is a greeting in a language or two on our continent. So well done, Robyn. Thank you for doing that. So today, Robyn, I mean, everybody knows you as this amazing professional, amazing guru in the travel industry. But today we don't want to know that bit about you. Today we want to dive in and get to know how you manage to always be this phenomenal, brilliant, bubbly, fun person. So who is Robyn? What is Robyn about? Who is she?
She's different to what she was this time last year. I can assure you that much. I think primarily I am somebody's daughter. I am a sister. I am a friend. Sadly, I'm nobody's lover. But I am all of those wonderful things, and I'm a friend, and I'm just a middle-aged girl looking at all of you saying it's actually not so bad, and life is good. I've come through a number of different generational things that we're all faced with, and I think the world today is quite tough because we're dealing with race and culture and gender and all of those things, and we survive, we navigate our way through it, and we do survive. So the journey is never easy, but it's very sweet, I have to say. So yeah, I am many things, but the one thing I know is that I am no longer what I was this time last year.
You know, I'm loving that, and I can guarantee you anybody who's going to be listening into this, who's listening into it now, is going to agree with you. We have all changed. I think if there's anybody out there who hasn't changed, we need to dig deep and just pray for that person. It's been a challenging time. So Robyn, you said some very interesting things, which I agree with you on. You're a sister, you're a friend, Robyn, how do you manage to keep all these phenomenal friends that you have around you, loving you year on year? What's your secret? How do you do that?
Yeah, Candy, and I think it's a value system. So when I say I'm not the same person I was this time last year, and I thought I was quite a good person last year, but I think I'm better today. I think I've actually got better in different ways. And the pandemic has taught me humility. It's taught me about how we're not islands, how we do need people. But I think I do have, and I have always had, a value system. And that value system, and I sometimes get criticized for it, I will tell you, because, I know you have to take a hard stand sometimes, you have to take a stand and be quite tough. And that's not me. I'm not tough. I'm not an ugly tough. And I sometimes wish I could be tougher. And I perhaps feel I choose the nicer route or the easier route. But I'm also somebody that's lived by that motto of saying, I'd rather be nice than right sometimes. And we all know what is right, and we all know how to unpack that. But so often people get really ugly in just trying to prove a point and just trying to be right. So I think from that perspective, I think maintaining a circle, and my friends have been people that I've worked very closely with, inside the industry, outside the industry. But I've always known that I've needed that support group. And if ever I need to boost myself, I just post something on Facebook, and my family and friends come out, all my warriors come out, they tell me how wonderful I am and everything's going to be great. And I feel better for 5 minutes, and I move on. And that's exactly what they are. I know we refer to them as tribes, and our tribe and our circle. And I think it's just, for me, they are my blood. I have a friend, my close friend, whom I met in grade 1 at school, and we matriculated 40 years ago, so 42 years ago. So my friends are very diverse. They've come out of every industry I've ever been in, or every job I've ever had. I've left taking a collection of people with me and maintaining that. But I've become family to many of them, and to their children. And I would think it's been a little easier, and I say this with all due respect to all of my married friends, as a single woman, and being single, I don't have to consider if my partner is going to get on with all of my friends. So with my friends being as diverse, and some of them are very ordinary and wonderful people, and some of them are complete lunatics, and I never have to explain that to anyone. I just love them all as the way they are. So I think that has been a thing, is that, when you're single, you don't have to make excuses or try and integrate or try and apologize. So I've been very fortunate as far as that is concerned. It has that I'm looking for the silver lining, and that's it on being single. You can be friends with who you like. There you go, Candy.
I love that. Thank you. Yes, you and I always joke about being in the same WhatsApp group. Thank you for validating that once again. The other question that I'm going to sort of dive in there is the one where from the time you've been talking, you've been mentioning, things that we Africans love to talk about. You've talked about being a tribe, being a village. We're so diverse. You love everybody. My goodness, Africa for you is here. In everything you've always done, Robyn, whether we've met at parties or, serious meetings, you love Africa. You breathe, walk, talk Africa. What is it about this continent that you would want anybody listening to you on just to fall in love with it the way you and I fall in love with it? Because for us, this is home. But what is it about this continent that you so love, that you walk, talk, breathe it?
You know, there's not one thing, but I will tell you that the people are what I just resonate. I get Africans. They get me. And as much as I'm seen in my own country as being very different, actually in the rest, you know, in not the rest of Africa, but in other countries that I have visited in Africa, it's just that we do resonate. There's a meeting of an emotion. There's a meeting of a culture and of a connection. I don't know anywhere in the world where I can breathe the air that I breathe on the continent of Africa. The dust, the smell, the bushes, the trees, the animals, the diversity, the people, the water, the lack of it, the abundance, the lack of it, the politics, the lack of it. It's just the music, the rhythm of Africa, the heartbeat of Africa. And I am certainly not I wasn't blessed in that arena. But I can't dance to the Beatles. I can't do the 60s jive, but I can certainly get my rhythm going. I get that, I feel it, and it moves me, and that's for me. So there's not one single thing in Africa that touches me. I love I think it's an emotion. It's the stirring of it weaves its way through you. I have also, and I do love going to Europe. And I don't feel very Eurocentric when I am there, but I admire it. I can stand in front of buildings that have been there forever and look and think they're still standing. And I mean, in Joburg, they wouldn't be still standing, but I get that wonderful heritage, or that feeling of heritage, not my heritage, but that European heritage. But put me in Africa and I feel I'm home. I know how this works. I can do this. So yeah, I think that's really what it's about. And I get quite defensive. I am very defensive of Africa, and I'm very defensive of South Africa as well. And I'm not going to make excuses for anything, but we have more problems in this country than we should have, particularly on a Southern African perspective. But I would rather be a part of the solution and hang around and make sure I'm part of a solution than go and live somewhere where I will always be a stranger. Actually, I'm far too attached to what is around me than I am what is for the safety or the serenity or the normality of a first world country where they shout at me if I park skew. I don't know what they shout at me about, but they do. So yeah, that's kind of where Africa touches me, I think, more than anything. And I also love that in Africa, there's a set of rules that nobody ever understands, and they never will understand. So, you know, they can come over from wherever and they can say, well, you know, this is how we do it here, and this is how we can implement this, and we'll just get the induction there. And you think, let me build a relationship with you. Let me become my friend and then try and do business with me. Don't just barge in here and think I'm going to hand it all over. And I love that, because nobody ever really gets the rules. And I've spent many hours just smiling. And I have worked for multinationals in my life who have said, Africa's a great target. Africa's a great target. And then I say, sorry, what part of Africa are we looking at? What are we going to do here? Mobile has overtaken everything. I've said, well, tell me about this mobile. What is it you're looking for on mobile? So it's always interesting. I think it's the most underrated and misunderstood continent in the world, quite frankly.
Listening to you always, give these examples from Africa, then you move up to Europe. Sometimes you go to South America. It's always such a joy. And I laugh so hard, because exactly what you've just explained is how we are misunderstood as a continent. And yet, even during these times that we're living in now, Africa is the continent that is going to drive change. And I keep saying that to people, and I keep saying to people, wait and watch, because Africans are so resilient. But anyway, I'm also loving the way you've just described what you love about Africa, because that is the definition of Ubuntu. If somebody said, what is Ubuntu? It's exactly what you've explained. The people, the drumbeat, the smells, the good and the bad, the no's and the yes. And that's what it's all about. So I'm loving that. And your answer drives me to the next question. You did say what you love, but what does Robyn love apart from the drum beats, the music? And by the way, Robyn, you can dance. Please stop telling lies here. I've seen you move to the rhythm. So please, what do you love? What does Robyn love?
I love, my heart is very full. It really is. A friend of mine has just gone through a process of adopting a baby. And oh, my heart just bursts. That's, not my child. It's actually my very dear friend's daughter. So it's another generation for me. That feeling when I see those pictures of him, I just get overwhelmed. I really do. So that love of the defenseless, that love of those who are loved as such. I have been very blessed in that I have three very beautiful, I have two nephews and a niece, and they are adults now and they've done really well and everything is great. And my niece has had two babies who are now little people, and just the privilege of being an auntie and not necessarily being a mother. Now, people are always a bit awkward with, why didn't you have children? And I mean, I have a few answers to that, and some of them are more honest than others, but there were reasons, and I'm not, who am I to question why? But it doesn't mean that I haven't really enjoyed bringing children not into the world, but up within the world. And I mean, we've had such fun. And as I'm speaking to you now, my nephew, who is 36 years old, who works in Rwanda, has just arrived home for the first time in a year and a half. So when I come off this call, he's waiting for me out there, and I'm bursting just because it's so wonderful. And he's lived with me in his travels all along. So, that's love for me. I also have, I can stand and just look and love. Do you know what I mean? I can just stand and look and love. And sometimes it's at a flippin' bus terminus when I see people doing things that I know I couldn't do, or just being innovative. And I stopped this morning at a traffic light on William Nicol, and two guys came out with Skittles, and because I'm one of those horrible people, my intention is, look away, he's going to ask for something, look away. And I didn't. I smiled with them, because they both climbed all over each other, throwing Skittles. And I mean, we had a little interaction in the world, and I loved that, because it was just so, to do that, to have the guts to do that when you have very little else. Yeah, as I say, my heart just gets full. I have the privilege of living with my 90-year-old mother, who is, I say a privilege because it really is. I don't know that many people have that. And she's well. She is really well, and she's very sharp, and she's in the garden as we speak. She spends her life gardening. She drives to church, goes to the shops, fights with the television, argues about the news, argues about Donald Trump. She gets involved, and that is a privilege for me. I know many people have parents who are not in that perspective. So I think I'm full of gratitude, if that's what I am. And I think now, particularly more so than I've ever been in my life, because I've come through COVID, probably bankrupt, but so rich on the other side. And I think that's really, I also know that I love being the age I am. And I'm a couple of months off a very momentous birthday, and I love being 60. I think it's quite sexy, actually. Just saying.
Oh my goodness, you look amazing. You know what? COVID or no COVID, we need to celebrate this. You look stunning
So
for
we do.
60. And what a
So we
blessing for
do.
you to have your mom. Really, all due respect to people that don't have moms out there. But the one
Oh,
thing
no.
that we have here in Africa, like you alluded to, Robyn, is we live with our parents until they are old. We don't know how to put them in an old home. So your friend's mom is your mom. Your
Yeah.
your your neighbor's mom is your mom. So what a blessing to have your mom who you can have conversation with. And without you knowing it, Robyn, I'm sure you're learning from her every day. Every time you look at her now with your gratitude, you are more aware of things that she does. You're taking it all in like a sponge, which
No,
is brilliant.
absolutely.
Your nephew in Rwanda, have you been to visit him? Did you ever go before COVID, of course? Did you
Yeah.
see where he stays? How was that?
I haven't been to visit him, but I have been to Rwanda, which was the most phenomenal experience, life-changing experience for me, as it has been, I think, for many people. I was at the World Economic Forum in Kigali a few years ago. But it's the one, it's certainly, and a visit to him is definitely on my list of things to do. Because they're in a very special part, and they do very special work, and very much a naturist and conservationist, and rebuilding a lot of what is the environment more than anything, but also very touched by a lot of the work that he's done up there. So it's wonderful. So yeah, no, that's definitely on my list.
Great.
Definitely.
If everything goes back to sort of a situation where we can cope and manage, COVID without ending up in hospital, what's the one thing, Rob, that you're going to do? The one thing that you're going to do that you always wanted to do, but kept on putting it off and saying, I'm going to do this later, I'm going to do this later. What's that one thing that you're going to do?
The one thing I am going to do, and it's just an extension of what I'm doing now, is I am going to make sure that every cent I earn, every mouthful of food I eat, every shower I take, every conversation I have, I'm going to be mindful of how valuable that is. So I am also going to get on a plane and fly somewhere. I am also going to, but none of the things I want to do are, that's why I'm different. That's why I've changed, because none of them are, I want to go and eat something special or consume, or for me, it's a very different feeling at the moment. And mindfulness is possibly the best holistic word of describing it. I don't want new shoes. I've learned that I can live and I can work in and the clothes, what I have is enough. I do live with enough. Perhaps the one thing I will do, but that's not because we will be open to business, is I have to stop putting on weight. That's the thing I have to stop the most of. I don't know what's happened. The last year has been a little too comfortable for me in some ways, but I know that the more I'm out and about, the more conscious I am, the more I'm thinking, I'm gonna have to do something about this. But yeah,
I love listening to you now chat, and just you really stopping for a few seconds to think about it and give your answer. And in everything you've said, Robyn, it's about gratitude. So is it because we went through lockdown? I keep saying to everybody that every South African can write a book about what each person went through in the lockdown. And I think if you had to put all 54 countries and islands on the African continent, South Africa had it the longest and the hardest, because there was a time when we're not allowed to visit friends, family, not even neighbors, depending on where you stayed, like where I stayed. The first month and a half of lockdown, we were not even allowed to just say hello to your neighbor. No, unless you were in the house. So from the window, that is. So you're so deliberate by how you say it and how you're so deliberate. Is it because of what you experience on your own? Have you made it as your new you? Can you share a little about that?
I can. And it's not just the pandemic, it's not just COVID. I've blamed the Rona for a lot of things, but I can't say that this was the only thing. Candy, I think when I left the corporate world, and it's been now three and a bit years, lots of things came to me very, very quickly. And I think it was also a great reflection for me. There was lots I needed to reflect on, because I have been and I have enjoyed such a beautiful, beautiful career. I've had I've had many positions and jobs, but and people say to me, "Oh, you were so successful," and you know, there wasn't. I've had to reaccount and saying, actually, no, it wasn't about that. Doesn't make you successful. I've held great positions. I've represented fantastic brands. I've done well for them. I've done what the job required of me. That didn't make me successful. We did well. We had a great team. We had great product. I managed to reignite some things in people or in associations or organizations. But that doesn't mean I was successful. I became, and I've created the brand Robyn Christie. I really do think that. And that was because I think I was just confident enough to be able to do that, and to be able to have that self-esteem. And I'm very grateful to my parents for instilling that in me, because I think self-esteem and self-confidence are two very different things. And I had the self-esteem to say, actually, this was a great brand. But if you look at me successfully, I'm not really successful. I have a broken marriage behind me. I am, I'm still, I haven't enjoyed that relationship with someone that's life lasting. I may be a very lonely old lady one day. You know, there's different ways of looking at success. And for me, I needed to reflect, and I needed to actually go back to all of those years ago. And I mean, I started off as a secretary in corporate South Africa, and each role I've ever had has been incredibly valuable and has taught me lessons. So the last 3 years, I was also already accustomed to working from home. And I remember having these thoughts and trying to build your brand again, in something new. Now, it was very easy for me to pick up the phone and say, "Hi, it's Robyn Christie, and I'm calling you from the company I used to work for, or any one of the companies I used to work for." Straight away, it was the recognition. You're the general manager. Whoa, okay, when you phone them and you actually are no one, I'm just Robyn Christie, and I'm asking you to consider me to do whatever it is you need me to do. Suddenly it's a very, very humbling experience. And for anybody who holds a leadership position, don't ever let your role define who you are, because you have to actually still remember one day you won't have that title behind you. And I'm very grateful that I'm actually just me, and I've had my wobblies. And to the end of last year, somebody said to me the other day, "Tell us something we don't know about you." I'll say, I fell off the wagon last year, not the boozing wagon, but I became really depressed. And I'm not a depressed person. I've never been depressed for a day in my life, but I was emotional. I couldn't stop crying. I was tearful. There were a number of reasons that attributed it. And the biggest one was I went to the airport, and the airport was dead. I had to fly to Cape Town to meet my new little precious soul. And there was one flight departing. And, the airports have always been so busy. And it struck me then. And I thought, are we ever going to come out of this? And it just weighed very, very heavily on me. And so I am as human as anybody else is. And I just think it's been COVID was being one thing. And I keep on saying I'm so grateful that COVID was affected everybody and not just Africa. We couldn't get blamed again. the rest of them were in as much rubbish as we were. But for the 3 years before COVID, or the 2 years before COVID, I'd gone through a very big journey of my own, just to try and reestablish myself and find out who I am. And I'm grateful, because I am still who I was. I can't say that I'm completely different and I don't believe in this, and I do believe. My value system, my beliefs are still very much intact, but I am a very different, my view is very different today than what it was three years ago, that's for sure. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yes. Yes, you did. And thank you for opening up and being so candid with us and just being so open with us. And that's what this is all about, for people to get to know that you are just a simple person like you and me. You are the ordinary person out there. The thing that we humans do is that we love to judge people like we judge a book by a cover. And yet when you open that book and you get to know who that person is, you get to appreciate and you get to value that person when they're in your space. So thank you so much for opening that. My second last question. My God, Robyn, you are so many things to so many people. You are a guru in the industry of travel and tourism. You have helped people build their brands, and this is on your professional side. So the one thing that you do so beautifully is every single time you stand on a stage and you give a speech, it doesn't matter in what country, you always are able to pick up something about that country, make a joke in relation with that country. And that's a lot of work, to do research and understand the crowd. And that's one thing that you do so well, Robyn. If it's an audience of 50, maybe 50 people here are Black, 50 people are white, 50 people are Indian, 50 people are colored, you know how to just juggle the whole room and to make sure that you pull everybody in. When did you know that you had that gift? When did you know that, you know what, I'm going to do this? When did the penny drop for you?
Penny, Candy, the thing is that if you're not authentic, those are things you can't really, you can practice them. And I do practice gigs and practice jokes, and because sometimes they're not so funny if in the wrong audience, but you have to be authentic. And I think the sooner you realize that I'm nothing without that audience, I'm absolutely nothing without them. So in the same way of, and I'm not intending for this to be a work pitch or a work conversation, but I never went to university. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I never have been. And I know that. I know that because I've learned it myself. But what makes me smart is that I've worked out I needed every single member of that team, because without them, I was nothing. So standing up in an audience, addressing an audience on whatever the conversation is, and knowing nothing about them, suicide. And it becomes like everybody, like so many before me. And it was very much a few decades ago, these, and you used the word a few times, a guru, and I don't know if I would ever think of myself as a guru, but we got these specialists, motivational speakers, and you can't motivate somebody unless they really want to be motivated. My inspiration could be very different to what other people want in inspiration. And until I actually sit there and think, I don't live in this country, I can't imagine what it's like to live in this country. So I have to learn, because if I'm going to use and to relate an example of to a Zimbabwean audience, to a Ugandan audience, Zambian, whatever, and say, well, in Craighall Park, I live opposite a park. Well, it means nothing. Stupid, So I think selfishly, it's been because I've needed that audience to draw into me. And then the game is on. Then we can, then there's the inspiration starts and the conversation starts. And I think that's really, I need that audience more than they need me, if I really am honest.
You know, really, you've always done this, and I've watched you for years. I've watched you, Robyn, for years, and for everybody who's gonna be listening to this one later or watching this one now, you know, she's as humble as she comes out, but the acts that she has in just able to pull an Indian joke. Now, you know, Indian jokes are not very easy to pull. So she'll pull in an Indian joke, then she'll pull in a Zulu joke for us who live here in South Africa. Then she pulls in a Pedi joke. She's got it. So anyway, Robyn, it's, you know, time has come to that point where I would need to say goodbye shortly. But before I do, Robyn, I mean, you've alluded to it so many times. COVID hit us before we even had a chance to say, what now? I remember very well for me when COVID started, I'd heard about it here in South Africa. You know, people were talking, oh, there's this thing happening in China. And there I was also like, yeah, no, they'll put it under control. And then I remember I you know, took a trip, and the trip that I made, there were some Chinese people there as well. And they were panicked because their families were calling them to say, come back home, because, you know, the country is going to be under lockdown. It was the first time I heard the word lockdown. And I thought, what do they mean by lockdown? Fast forward to South Africa, Cyril addressed all of us. President Cyril Ramaphosa, South African president, came on TV, I think on the 21st, and said the country was going under lockdown midnight, 26th into midnight on the 27th. I promise you, I panicked like there was no tomorrow. And the week he gave us, there was panic buying. People went out and bought out tissue. We also ran out of tissue on the shelves, and I thought, oh, good God. So fast forward to maybe November, December, a lot of people started losing their jobs, companies closed down, people were hyperventilating. We started to hear words like, more than ever before, think outside the box. You are asking people to do things differently. People have known to do things the same way. So how can we, Robyn, move forward? What's the advice that you can give us? How can we navigate life? How can we try not to hyperventilate? It's getting better now because the vaccines are out there. But still, I think, to be very honest, COVID is here with us to stay. We've got a long way to go. What's your advice? What can we do to just be okay? What can you tell everybody listening in and those that will watch this later?
Candy, it was possibly the biggest shock to all of us. And I think because for the most part, things were going, we were just consuming too much. And I'm not saying about a country, a continent, the world. We were getting ahead of ourselves in taking and that whole bully effect and wasting and what we did. So I think it was the lesson that we all needed. And I say that with reservation because I've lost people, but they were not my direct contacts. I know that there have been people, and my heart is with those who've lost positions and breadwinners who are just no longer being able to be employed. But I also think it's actually probably going to bring out a very big resilience, and the human being is resilient. And I think Africans are particularly resilient. I think we probably will come back, maybe not bounce back, but we will come back stronger and quicker. We'll make a plan because we've always made plans. And from a work perspective and from a business perspective, we will get there. But the recovery, it's never, ever going to just bounce back to what it was a year ago. We will go through a recovery phase. And that recovery is literally going to be just that. We will recover the losses, recover the hurt, recover from all of those emotions and positions that we were in. Are we going to do things differently? Yeah, I think a lot of the work we do and the way we do it is going to be different, but I think a lot is going to stay the same, but be more effective. These meetings are fantastic, and what the virtual world has done for us has been, it's kept us in contact. And I think that is going to continue to be a platform that we will use. But it's not the only platform. There's going to be many other ways of working together. And I think that we will perhaps not take for granted what we have always taken for granted. One of the things in the industry that we serve is that I think travel suddenly became accessible to a lot and too many, and the supply chain just became muddled and messy, and you know, there were things going on that was perhaps not really the way it was always intended. I think we're going to come out of this perhaps with a little bit more clarity. What we were planning to do in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, we've probably been doing now. We've also worked out now, and I am not somebody who advocates technology will replace us. In fact, I'm a realist. So I'm not really a futurist who I think that, you know, there is the concept of technology will be able to do it all for us. I am more of a realist. And I think if anything, COVID has shown us that you will never, ever replace that human interaction and that personal touch. And I think we need to nurture that and protect it as being very, very precious. And I can't wait to see you, Ken, because I want to give you a very big hug.
Oh, wow. And there you have it. And that's how she does it all the time. She leaves you on that note thinking there's more to come, and she just ends. Anyway, Robyn, what an honor to have had this moment, to get to dive into your life and just to get to know who you are. Thank you so much for opening that door for all of us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you today.
Privilege is all mine, and thank you. Thank you for being you and creating this incredible platform. And yeah, I wish you love, luck, and lots of success.
Thank you. Like I've always said, here in Africa, when you have someone who you look up to and you call a guru, and she gives you words like that, it is a blessing beyond words. So today you heard it for yourself. She has shared, and how this time, beginning last year, even 3 years earlier, that she started to be grateful. It's about gratitude. And that's what's important. If there's anything else that we need to do going forward, is to care a little. We are a human race, and I think as a human race, we are meant to be a people that care, a people that are so aware of what is happening to the person sitting or just standing next to you, even your neighbor. This is a time for us to be deliberate in how we do things. It's about choices. It's about what is relevant. What do you see that you don't need anymore? And what do you have that you can be grateful for? So we've learned as well about just the beauty of Africa. Ubuntu. Africa is about the drumbeat. Africa is about the people, the culture. They have and they have nots, the yeses and the nos, the politics, and I won't say the word, but we have it all here. It's 54 countries, all islands, and some islands rather, and most countries, but we are a people that is diverse like any other continent. This is what this series is all about. You get to see that the person who is there to impact, the person that stands on that stage to help you do better, is as simple as you and I. So on that note, what a phenomenal episode. Join me again next week when I bring you somebody else who's just going to blow your mind. I am always learning every day from these people. If you want to get to know more about Robyn and you want to find out what her calendar is all about and how she can help you to be better and just to think outside the box, to just look at things in a very different light, to grow your brand, and just to engage with her on a one-on-one, please send your emails to info@ewconsults.com. On that very note, thank you once again for being here. Join me next week. Wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and learn to love your neighbor. Live large, but be careful. I'll see you next week.